Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining again to our discussion of the supply chain. Last time we were talking about the exports in bond, and I'm sure it was very clear on how we can execute such. Now, remember, from the first discussions, we decided to start with the end part of delivery to the customer or distribution. And then we tackled the export part because deliveries can be either within the country or from outside the country. So we started with delivery from outside the country. Secondly, we will come to delivery from within the country. So, delivery from within the country, there is no much government intervention apart from you being registered as a company or as organization. But again, you can still, if you are running a small supply chain, you can still operate as such, even at an individual level. But let's dwell on corporate, because that's where accountability comes in. Mind you, the allegiance of all employees in a corporate is to the shareholders. And when it comes to public organizations or the government, the allegiance is to the people. So, because allegiance is to the people, transparency is key. That's why you find in government organizations or public organizations, documentation is very important, because that's the only tool that helps in transparency. Whereas in smaller organizations or in private organizations, the allegiance is to shareholders, and the emphasis is on profitability of the organization. Therefore, some of the processes sometimes may be jumped, even in documentation. But for larger corporate, they would insist also on transparency, because in profitability, resources may be misused. So let's go to deliveries. Deliveries, whether local or international, are almost the same. The most important part is documentation. What are the key documents that you need to look out for when you are delivering goods? Of course, for organizations that are running systems, you have to ensure that the stocks are transferred in terms of ownership. For goods that are probably in the hands of the state, there is receipt for items held, or they are in the bonded store or stuff. Transfer of ownership while in the bonded store. Transfer of ownership while in the private bonded warehouse to the second owner is key. So that transfer must be done in the system or manually. And then delivery notes as manual documentation that need to be prepared needs to be done. After everything is done in the system, there are different kinds of systems, by the way. Some people become experts in one system. It may be all systems that manage these things, in most cases, are called enterprise resource management systems. Enterprise resource 2, something like that. It means they are able to run an enterprise. They are able to run all the 4 areas of the supply chain. Those systems are able to manage the planning. Those systems are able to manage the procurement, the production. They're able to manage the delivery, and so on and so forth. So the most important thing is, in such kind of a system that you are using, whatever the name, forget about the brand, those are not important. A system must serve your purpose. I've seen many people trying to serve the interest of the system, but it is us who make the system, and sometimes the system may have flaws. It's us to interrogate the system to see whether the system does what we want. That's why it is important to have an overall picture of the scenario before even getting to the system, so that if your system is not doing or performing according to what you want to achieve in the system, then you are able to call technical people so that they work on such kind of a system to behave professionally. The delivery notes, government control documentation, like if it is an export, the export clearances and stuff, the packing list of how goods have been packed so that they have to be delivered, and then the invoice to the new owner of the goods. Whether the agreement is to pay before the goods are delivered or to pay afterwards, an invoice is key, because that's the document that the government would look at in their collection of taxes, whether it is a local distribution or it is an international distribution. Some of the key documents that need to be looked at are compliance with government regulations in case of restricted goods, then quality documentation, of course, in terms of if it is a motor vehicle, is this motor vehicle, when was it manufactured? Maybe you've heard of things like JVIC certificates and stuff. All those are quality documentations that will determine whether that kind of product is acceptable or not. Then, of course, there are these bilateral or multilateral agreements that are within countries, the customs groups. So those will determine that you show the country of origin. Sometimes even restrictions or these countries that are placed on embargoes where they are not able to do anything. The country of origin is very important to see whether you are able to trade with those countries, whether you are able to benefit anything by trading with that kind of country. All those things are things to look at, and they are approved by documentation that is available to say this is the kind of product that I'm dealing with. And then the goods go to the customer. How does the customer now receive the goods in his facility so that he is able to benefit from the goods that he has been bought? That is the topic that I want to discuss with you next time as I come, so that we finalize with the delivery, and then later on we now draw back. We come to the production. Very interesting topic. Thank you so much for listening. As usual, this is Kalaruka, and if you find this kind of discussion beneficial, then I appreciate very much. But again, if you find it to be not interesting, you are free to listen to others from different kinds of discourses. There are a lot of supply chain discourses online, so you are free to listen to such. Thank you so much, and have a good day. Kalaruka here.